welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. I'm your host Eli, and I'm joined today by Joey with a hopefully a pretty quick bonus episode to break down the disappointing 1-1 draw against Lille today. And how did that match make you feel?
Disappointed, frustrated. Um, but what else do we really expect from Borussia Dortmund than them being consistently inconsistent? So we got exactly what we should have all expected, which was having no idea what to expect going into this match. I certainly thought we were going to have a win. Um, this was much more difficult a match than I anticipated. And I mean,
I don't know if I could
we can
say
get
this
into
match
it.
was much more difficult, Joey,
More
because
difficult, or we played like crap.
I'm watching the players on Lille move. Like Ethan Mbappe, I'm sorry, he's not ready to start on this stage. Every ball he played in the final third was the exact same, uh, curling into no one except the arms of a grateful Gregor Kobel. I'm watching their midfield. They can't move. The commentator is praising Benjamin Andre because he did two things right all game and had ran a lot. But like, if you look at the players who are running the most, it's him and Sabitzer, and these two guys are just doing cardio up and down the pitch. Um,
There wasn't any attacking cohesion really. I mean, we could gripe on Girassi, but there was no chance creation really. The service going to him was non-existent, and
well,
when he was drawn out of the final third, he didn't do a whole lot to keep the attacks moving. Um,
that's where we can gripe on him, though. Like, I think this is much more. I think him routinely dropping off the back line to pick up the ball in transition, like that's clearly coming from the coach, and it clearly killed counterattack
mm-mm.
after counterattack, especially in the second half, because Garassi was so negative and conservative with the ball. Like he was almost scared to lose it, which was like the opposite of Julian Brandt. Like Garassi and Brandt are the two players who should most be willing to lose the ball. And like Brandt had all the willingness to do that, and he tried a lot of things that didn't come off in this match, but like at least he tried them. Garassi every time in transition was literally just a defender. It was like if he had three men around him, if he had no one around him, because he was just leisurely jogging with the ball at his feet. And in particular, in the first moment, this one pissed me off because he has Jamie Gittins right next to him, and he like waves Jamie Gittins off to go make the striker run in the final third. Give the ball up. Let the guy who's on the field to take the one-on-ones do that, and then go get in the final third. So that's my gripe with Garassi, but I think it's really coming from Kovac, because why am I seeing it happen time and time and time again? Because like that just doesn't happen if the coach isn't asking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean that is certainly a question that is to be asked. I think, I mean it's hard to speculate. There's a bit of a gamble that I think Kovac did in this, which is switching, making many changes in the starting 11, including putting Gittins back in instead of Bayer and Brandt instead of Reina. And I don't. I mean, Brandt was heard. I'm sorry, not Brandt. Reina was my dud of the week the last 2 weeks, but maybe there was something there that was working with the combination of Girassi, Adeyemi, Bayer, Reina that was just the cohesion was lost in this match. I mean, again, that's just speculation because, like you said, Brandt did try a few things, but it just felt like Dortmund were on the back foot the whole time. I mean, we didn't even get 50% of possession, and the XG was like what 0.25 or something like that across
It was like
the
a
whole
high
match.
high point two to a medium point eight. So essentially, like let's just call it like 0.86 to I think point 0.25, depending on whose model you're looking at. but this was the same lack. Like the cohesion wasn't like blaming the switch from Reyna to Bryant. To me, is just asinine because the cohesion wasn't really there this past weekend. Like I asked you and Brian, uh, not to dig at Brian, but he didn't identify it as a problem the way I did. But I said that I think it's a bit of an issue that there were only three players with expected goals or expected assists in the past match at the weekend, and that's a broader issue. That's clearly a system issue. Because if you're looking at this match, like Brent very easily could have had some key passes come off, some crosses in that just got dealt with, but on another day maybe they get through. But that's still like such a separation between your midfield and attack. And the commentator is praising Marcel Sabitzer and Pascal Gross because they're the two highest players in the match for distance one, but that's because we're behind the ball. And as soon as our attackers were the ones doing the pressing, we just could not win the ball back. So I think that to me was like one of the biggest issues is once they broke that first line of pressure, we didn't know how to win the ball back. And we also didn't have guys from the midfield that were involving themselves in the attack because our coach is just a little too risk averse.
I think what you said right there is spot on with being risk averse. I think this match, like a couple of the others, Kovac has certainly seems to have approached it too conservatively. Um, and that's just not really acceptable for a match in the Westfalenstadion in front of these fans, a round of 16 Champions League game against a team that we should be able to, if not defeat, look better against. And if we can't even get, five shots on target in a home game, this isn't Barcelona or Liverpool that we're playing right now. This isn't even Bayern Munich. This is Lyon. And or Lille. What am I saying? It's late. Uh, um, but we can't rely on these split second moments of brilliance from a player like Kareem Adeyemi to score a winner for a match at when the stakes are as high as they are right now. Um, and again, that I think that comes down to a whole strain of different problems on the pitch and maybe off the pitch. But I mean, it's hard to gripe too hard on any single player or I mean, maybe Emre Can a little bit in the second half.
I have another
But
player to gripe on aside from Emre Can, because Jamie Gittins, I like you're
okay.
matched up with Thomas Meunier. We watched on the opposite wing. Kareem Adeyemi did his scouting report. Their fullbacks can't run. I did the scouting report. I'm watching the two of their fullbacks. They cannot run. I told you. I said they're not good. They have a lot of players in their side who cannot run. And if you watch Kareem Adeyemi, when he got the ball and he was facing goal, he just ran right past the fullback because their fullbacks cannot run. He
And
like
if you,
we did the scouting report. How many times did Jamie Gittins run past his fullback?
I mean, Thomas Meunier could not run very well when he was at Dortmund, and that was a couple years ago now. So the idea
It was
that
last
he's
year. It's
gonna
1 year.
was that just 1 year? Jeez,
It's a very long year, Joey.
it is.
I'll give
It's a
you
long
I'll give you
season.
that.
So I mean, we knew he couldn't run when he was playing for us a season ago. We offloaded him for a reason. Um, the fact that Jamie Gittins struggled so much to beat him, I mean, I think some of that does speak to the fact that Gittins is really in a rut in his own form right now. People have figured out his special trick, and he hasn't quite been able to adapt um, to these matches. And I think some of that could come down to the coaching changes. And I do want to give Gittins some credit because there were, I mean, how many matches did Gittins rescue for this team under Shaheen? But now in this kind of system, it wasn't working. He's got a lot of individual talent, but if he can't manage these take-ons in the final third, then he's got to get that ball off to somebody. He's got to create the chance. He's got to get the cross in or the through ball.
Like to
Um,
me, it feels a bit harsh and to call him like a one trick pony like that. Like because we have seen him go to the byline. We have seen him like do all these different things. We have seen him like stand with his heels on the touchline and run up and down the pitch rather than just cutting inside. We've seen him mainly cut inside, like it's his best trick, it's his go-to. But like even like if you're a pitcher in baseball, like you might have your best pitch, like you might have that great curveball, but you got to have a second pitch to mix it up. Like even if that's your best pitch, you go with something else. Like if you love the step over, like you can also just go like inside outside. Like Jamie Gittens has these abilities, but the decision making and the maturity to kind of like not have the ego when you're playing the pitch and play a little bit more free and do more different things is something he needs to learn. And like we talk about decision making with Kareem Adeyemi because sometimes he passes when people want him to shoot and it doesn't come off, but like he's in the right spot and he's making a decision that can like lead to a chance. And like sometimes technically you miss hit a shot, sometimes you miss hit a pass. Like that to me isn't a decision making issue. That's like a technical issue, and everyone has those at this
I,
level. But Jamie Gittens to me, like he needs to figure out his decision making.
I mean, and I think over the course of the season, we've seen improvements in Adeyemi's decision making. Um, when it comes to Gittins, I think one of the issues there is his vision. I mean, he's a very technically gifted player, and he gets into these really fancy bouts of footwork, but in doing so, his head is down. He's watching what he's doing, and it, by doing that, he closes off his vision, and then he can't see where Girassi or Brandt or Adeyemi gets in a much better shooting range than he is, and then Gittins ends up trying to take the shot, or in more recent games like today, gets dispossessed. So,
Okay, but
yeah,
let's talk on the other players we can
sure.
criticize in this match. Because I thought Julian Ryerson could have been a tiny bit better. Let's talk about him in brief. Like I don't want to rail on him. I don't think he was like completely bad. Uh, if we're talking about the goal, like he could have followed. Uh, I'm gonna say the wrong Icelandish talent's name. Why is Hakon Haraldsson in my head? I think that's the wrong one. Uh, but when their Icelandic winger cut
I don't have it in
inside,
front of me.
uh, when their Icelandic winger cut inside, like yes, Emre Can vacates the space, and Emre Can should never vacate the space. But do I want Julian Ryerson to like track his runner inside a little bit? I kind of do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Like
I
80
guess,
80 20, I guess, would you say?
yeah, I mean, some of that comes down to the judgment, and I mean, when that goal, it was almost like
I was right,
both
by the
both
way. I was right on the
Rierson,
name.
you were,
I
so
was.
I don't have it in front of me. Um, it kind of felt like both Rierson and Emre Can decided to have mistakes at the exact same moment, and that was the split second that Lille took advantage of. The one thing I was going to say about Rierson in this one is also with that Icelandic player. I think he
Haraldson.
was Haraldsson. I think Rierson was pulled into the challenges a little bit too much with him. It was a kind of physical one-on-one matchup between the two of them, and I think he got a little bit too emotional and ended up getting the yellow card because he was a little bit too emotional getting into those challenges. So I'd like to see him have a little bit of a cooler head there. But I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
both Haraldson and him really earned yellow cards for dissent, but like the referee got pretty much every call wrong for and against us in a lot of those duels. Like the referee performance today was pretty shocking.
yeah, it was
Like
bad
he gave them a corner when it was definitely not. He gave us some goal kicks when it definitely wasn't. Like this guy
twice, I
should
think.
this guy that guy needs to go home and look at himself in the mirror.
What do you think about the penalty shout?
Oh my god. Listen. if I have to talk about like the little dolphin they have playing up front, it's gonna be bad. It's not good. Jonathan David and others were certainly very easy to take a little dive.
Hmm.
That was a soft penalty, and he's not even appealing for the penalty until he gets up and realizes what's happening. Because Jonathan David didn't think it was a penalty. Jonathan David got up and looked like he was like, "Where did the defender come from? How did I lose the ball?" So I don't think it's worth talking about that penalty shot. Like
That's
Jonathan David knows. Like watch that clip back. Jonathan David's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I let him like get a foot in." And then he's like, "Oh wait, penalty, penalty. How's that not a penalty?" Like it's such a late reaction from Jonathan David. It gives
I
it
do
away.
think it is a little bit. I think that David. It almost to me looked like he left his foot back a little bit, like he was looking for the contact. Of course, it in another day, I do think that that could have been a penalty. If the on-field decision had been a penalty, there was enough contact that I don't think VAR would have overturned it. So in that
I
sense,
mean, like if the referee had made the wrong decision, then he would have made the wrong decision, Joey.
oh
That's not a
sure,
great point. I don't know.
sure, but maybe that's more to a diss on VAR than anything else. But I mean, there was contact there to the back of the calf,
Yeah.
and if if the ref had decided to blow his whistle, I don't think it would have been overturned.
Yeah, and noted Everton reject Angel Gomez. It looks really bad in the still that because he gets his foot like firmly on Svensson's like ankle, and
Oof.
the still looked really bad. But I don't I and like I think it was a very dirty foul. Like it should have been a yellow card, but that wasn't that bad.
I was just a little confused of how they can the VAR excuse me VAR can take so long reviewing it as a potential red card foul and then decide that it's not even a yellow.
Well, I don't think you can make that decision. I think the like yellows have to be on
Yellow would have
field.
come from the ref, sure,
Yeah,
but
yellows have to be on field decisions from the referee. That yellows can't come from VAR. But I think
with
they had another challenge that like could have been a yellow, but that's
there were
neither.
a couple in there.
Yeah, they had some professional fouls. Like I said, the referee like it has nothing to do with the result because like 50% of the calls that went for us were called wrong for us, and then 50% of the calls that were called against us were wrong against us. So like the referee was just like making it up as he went along, you
It's
know.
bad on both sides.
Exactly. Is there anything positive that you have to say about this game other than like Kareem Adeyemi like has mishit every single like deflected ball out to him on a corner up until this one? The goalie didn't see it and he hit it so well that by the time the goalie sees it, it's basically in the back of the net and he just like goes and sits on his ass. Love that.
I would say one positive, and I don't know how sustainable this is, but one positive is the number of minutes that players like Kareem Adeyemi and Pascal Gross is playing. One,
Switzer too. Get
and
some
Sabitzer.
credit. Like he's not doing anything with those minutes, but he's running around a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's very physical and from being, I think I mentioned this on the pod over the weekend, um, but like from being nervous every time that Kareem Adeyemi is out there past the 60th or 65th minute to him now playing the better part of 90 every 2 or 3 days is surprising to me. And like I said, I don't know how sustainable this is, but if he can maintain some of this agility, I mean,
See,
it's good. Hopefully
I'm
good for
not positive
Dortmund.
about this. I'm really not because Kareem Adeyemi right now is the attack. Like Sarah Garassi is great at getting on the end of chances, but in terms of like winger production, we have like Maxi Bayer inconsistently doing it. Like yeah, the last two performances he was good. His last two starts, but over the course of the season, he's been up and down. I think he's been much better post shocking as everyone has, But if you look at players aside from that who have been good, it's Kareem Adeyemi who is running the attack. He's the best creator. He's the best goal scorer that's not Garassi, and Garassi's like the striker. So like in terms of like positive production, it's all Kareem Adeyemi, and it should be worrying to you that our attack only looks as good as it has over like excluding the Union Berlin game. It's not looked exceptional. Like it's looked decent, and that's with Kareem Adeyemi playing every single minute. And this is a guy with an injury history, so we're risking him playing 3 times a week. We have a long season left, and we're gonna need production from somewhere because if he like
If
if
he gets
anything
injured,
happens, I'm not gonna say the I word, but if anything happens, it should be very worrying to you as a Dortmund fan because we have like 2 guys in our attack who are like genuinely world class this season, and then we have a bunch of guys that like Brandt over the course of the season has been like pretty good, not great. He's had some horrific moments, but in terms of actual goal and assist output, he's been pretty good. But we have those 2 guys that are like just incredible at football,
and a
and
bunch of new signings sitting on the bench.
if Kareem Adeyemi goes out, it's very worrying because you talk about going from a Champions League attack to like, ooh,
That's when we really do become a mid-table attack.
exactly, and that is worrying. We've had a very good
Hmm.
defense under Kovac, and like I just don't think that we need world class attackers because of how deep teams will sit up against us. And I'm worried if Kareem Adeyemi isn't playing because this is a guy who is 0.61 non-penalty expected goals plus expected assisted goals. That's like genuinely elite in the league. Like without that, it's troubling.
It is, but it's also curious, I think, the way that Kovac was kind of he took his time reintroducing Brandt after Brandt has a muscle strain. And he goes into the media and talks about, how tricky these muscle injuries can be, and how you really have to be careful with them. But here's a player in Kareem Adeyemi who has a history of muscle injuries, even just this season, but he's playing nearly every minute under Kovac. So to say it's worrying, I think is very accurate. Um, if it is somehow sustainable, I don't know what brand of Wheaties Niko Kovac is feeding him, because I'd take some.
Oh my god, we need to get him on that Atalanta mystery juice regimen.
For sure.
But is there anything else we need to talk about from this horrifically boring, dull match?
I could gripe on Emre Can's second half, but
Oh,
I don't
oh
feel
my
like
God.
it.
Yeah, we didn't go into full detail of it because we talked a little bit about his mistake in the goal because like I've talked about this time and time again. Like this guy is only on the pitch because he has the armband on. He gets sucked into the ball every single time. As a center back, you need to know in a split second that Jonathan David shooting from 25 yards when you have like supposedly a world-class goalie in Gregor Kobel is not that big a threat. Whereas, like, I don't know, anyone in behind one on one at this level can finish. And he makes the wrong decision time and time again. I talked about early in the year him continuously getting sucked out wide. And now that we basically play Ryerson in a lot of phases of play as a third center back, that's really helped him out by hiding his uh, horrible decision making by getting sucked out into wide areas. But there was another moment in this game where someone got in behind. I don't think it was Jonathan David. I think it was someone else. But they get in behind, and Nico Schlotterbeck with an excellent like job going shoulder to shoulder getting himself in between man and ball, and Gregor Kobel just scoops it up. But that's again because of space vacated by Emre Can. And this is before we even talk about him on the ball, because him on the ball was even worse, Joey. Do you have any specific anecdotes for the class?
Ugh. Ah, man. Um, I mean, credit where credit is due. He had a couple really decent defensive plays in the first half, but his second half was terrible. I
I
mean,
don't care about good plays, because as a defender, you're paid to
it
not
has
make
it has to be
mistakes.
consistent. We really needed that clean sheet in this match. And I mean, even his yellow card was, I mean, it was necessary, but it was only necessary because he put himself in the position of letting the attacker get through. He misjudged where the ball was coming down, didn't make didn't position himself properly to defend it, and found himself where he had to wrestle the attacker down.
And
So
this
it's
is
just
like,
a dumb yellow card.
it's the thing he's supposed to be good at, Joey. He's supposed to be the bruising center back that just goes in, clatters the forward, and wins the header. But instead, he tries to go like put his back on him. Like what? There's no need for it. Like, keep it simple, stupid. You're really stupid. Just go win ball. Like, see ball, win ball. That's what you do. That's like where you make mistakes. And now you're trying to, like, for the one time in the game, you're gonna like pretend you have some composure and try and like possess the ball when you win it, instead of, like, I don't know, clearing it. Like, there's one point where he tried to like dribble up the pitch at the halfway line, and he starts to carry forward, and then he realizes there's two defenders there, and he just like and like yeets the ball. Not, I guess yeet is the wrong word, because that implies a bit of power. There's a little connotation of power, but he just plays this like soft little pass to four center backs where like Garasi is adjacent to this area. And then like he turns the ball over in a central area, and then all of a sudden Lille get to counterattack again. And there's like so many moments there where it's probably not even showing up in the stats, because it's showing up like not even as an attempted pass, because it's like a clearance or something. But like there was a moment where Nico Schlotterbeck has like a first time full volley clearance, and he lobs the ball into the general area where it was like Kareem Adeyemi or Jamie Gittins, I forget, was in space, because that's where they're always just like hanging out on the wing. But like you never see that from Emre Can. Like, he just doesn't have the technical ability to like make a clearance as a pass almost, and accidentally complete a long ball that way. Whereas like you see these elite defenders like Nico Schlotterbeck is consistently doing stuff like that time and time again. But Emre Can is just like a headless chicken in so many moments like that, because he just he lacks the technical ability to give him that calmness of mind, and that's when the panic sets in. And like, please just give me Valdemar on time back.
On
I
a
don't know.
lighter note, I did laugh out loud in this match when Emre Can kicked the ball out of bounds in what should have been a corner kick for Lille, and you can see it on his face because he slaps his hands together. He knows he conceded the quarter, and then the whistle goes for goal kick, and it just the head turns up like what?
Yeah, the refer
Just
like
like you know,
we've talked about it already. Like, the refereeing in this game for both sides was genuinely
but
horrific. Those guys should never get a UCL knockout game again.
But the question that I think needs to be asked of Emre Can and perhaps Niko Kovac, it is, where does Emre Can fit into this squad the best? Because, Kovac's midfield system that he's trying to implement here, there's not really a good space for Emre Can in there.
I would
But he
be
is the
interested in seeing him over Marcel Sabitzer at this point, because Marcel Sabitzer is not being asked to do anything in possession. He's not doing
sure,
anything in possession. He's just like
sure.
running around and like occasionally winning the ball back, which like Emre Can could theoretically do.
I just I
It's
just
like,
mean in terms of what Niko Kovac is implementing. I'd rather see Emre Can up there as well, but Kovac has made it clear that he's using Emre Can as a center back, and it makes me wonder a little bit how much that does have to do with him being a captain, being the captain, and needing to be part of the match day squad. He doesn't really fit Kovac's idea for the midfield, but we can make it work at center back. Like you, I would much rather see Anton in that position right now. I also think that unless there is some um, center back signing that Dortmund is scouted that we have in mind for this summer, I really think that Schlotterbeck Anton is the future center back pairing for the club. Let's give him those minutes together. And now I feel like, I mean, Anton's hardly played under Kovac.
I don't think he's gotten more than like 10 minutes in a game. Um, yeah. Usually I'm a pretty hopeful person, but today not as much, believe it or not.
It is frustrating. I want to end on something more positive, so I'll say Schlotterbeck again, because there's a lot of talent there, and
So much talent.
even in some of the bad days, Schlotterbeck still looks good. He nails those long balls, and I mean, trying to look at the glass half full, this could have been a loss. A home loss would have been atrocious. We should have gotten the win, and there's a lot of work to be done next week, but it's not like an unsurmountable task to win away from home. We put three past Sporting away, so we
Yeah,
can
and
do it.
in this match they will likely try and attack a bit more. Like we said, like they only got under zero point 0.9 xg, which is not a lot. Like that's still a good defensive performance. Our attack just didn't do anything. So if we go to France and they come out of their shell, that kind of plays a little bit more into Niko Kovac's hands. So like we should be a bit of a better away side than we have been in recent years, where our coaches like didn't have a coherent game plan, and now we do, and we have one that works better away than home. So yeah, like that's a positive. But like this was a hard match to watch, and I think like Niko Kovac's ball, like his style of soccer is a little bit is it is better than Edin Terzic's style of soccer because it's a lot more coherent, but it's not necessarily attacking, and I think that's a disconnect when you're like as big a club as Borussia Dortmund, because like if you look at the way Lille played this game, like we go up 1-0, they still didn't really come out of their shell because they're so happy with a 1-0, and they can do like little attacks here and there without committing a ton into it, because their goal when they're playing in Dortmund is just to come away with like a 1-0 loss at worst. Like that's their goal. Like
Mhm.
they would have been very happy had we won this game 1-0. But when we go to them, they're gonna have to play a little bit more open, and you could start to see their 66-year-old combined fullbacks get exposed a little bit more, and because Lille will need to come out of their shell. So there are positives here. We beat a much better team in France last year. In PSG, we've won a lot more of our away games in the second half of the season than we did in the first half of the season so far. So, like, this is a winnable game. This is still a game that Dortmund should win,
Mhm.
but it was a very disappointing performance, obviously. But,
And
Joey, is there anything you want to say before we go?
any plugs?
Like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars on all audio platforms.
And look out for those YouTube shorts, and I guess they're on TikTok now too. After every match from Dortmund Dispatch. Also, check out my writing and Pedro's writing and other great writers' writing over at BVB Buzz.
All the writing on BPB Buzz, but that'll do it for us. Thank you and have a good one.